Hello there and welcome to the Star Wars Showcase YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking some basics on how to make your very own LAAT gunship clone pilot. So let's get into it. So let's start things off with another shot of our completed product, as that's going to make it pretty clear where the base for this figure is coming from. Clone Pilot Hawk here was released as part of a Target exclusive Clone Wars wave, but was a lot easier to find than some of the other figures in that. So in terms of being able to track this guy down, you can still find him for pretty good rates on eBay. So when you're looking to make a LAAT gunship pilot here, your base body is going to remain completely the same. I'm kind of turning things around. You can see the only difference here is going to be our helmet, which is really true of most of our Clone Trooper customs. So the custom head for this figure is coming from our friends at Bounty Supply Co. You can find them on Etsy, and you can actually get custom head sculpts for all kinds of different Black Series figures at really reasonable prices. So this guy's fantastic. I get a lot of stuff from him and definitely recommend it. So as you can see by our product photo here, when you order custom 3D printed parts like this, you're going to get them unpainted. They're just going to be the color of the original resin that they were printed in. Now, when it comes to painting these guys up, please always remember to prime your projects first. You don't want to just start slapping acrylic paint on this kind of resin here, as the paint isn't going to hold very well. It's going to dry kind of splotchy. What you'll want to do is first look up different paint primers, and basically this is just putting a nice surface down on whatever your project is, so that when you start to paint over it, your very thin paint layers are going to adhere well, they're going to layer well, and there's going to be less chance of them scuffing off as easily. So I'll add a link to the description of this video for some different tips when it comes to using primers, but please always make sure to use these in a well-ventilated space as well as with a mask, just to protect yourself from the fumes. So when you're doing things like Clone Trooper or Stormtrooper projects, you can actually get a white paint primer. So it puts a nice thin layer of white paint on your project, and then you can start right away painting in, the visor, the different gray details, and then depending on, the legion or unit you want to do up, you can start to add splashes of color there too. So if you flip back a couple of seconds, I flashed the blue paint that I used, and you can notice between the LAAT Gunship Pilot and Clone Pilot Hawk, there is some slight variation here. And because I wanted to make things a very consistent blue, and I'm not very good at color mixing, I took this Vallejo paint that I had, and I just went over all of the Hawk blue in my blue color. So his shoulder pads, those little items on his wrist as well as his legs, I just went over those in the new blue, and then when I painted up his helmet like this, everything matched up nicely. So that step's completely up to you if you want to work to color match, if you just want to go over things with a color that's very similar, or if you're feeling adventurous, you can definitely do any other color that you want. You could do 2/12 orange, or you could do some 41st green. The one thing I'm going to recommend, though, is because that navy blue is a little bit darker, you're just going to do several very thin layers just to make sure you're getting that right color and that the blue isn't coming through. So as far as doing up this specific paintwork on the helmet, this is actually a pretty straightforward paint job. It's a really solid 3D sculpt that Bounty Supply Co. is selling here, and you'll be able to use different reference images just to color in those black, those white, those gray details in to match really whatever style you'd like. Things can get a little bit small, so I recommend that you use a fine tip brush. And again, you're just going nice and slow, very simple, thin layers of paint. There's no reason to rush, and there's no reason to glop things on, because if you do, oftentimes that's going to make your paint streak or kind of appear chunky when it dries. And once you've got your helmet painted up to your liking, you can also look to paint, more specific details or add in decals. You'll notice on my pilot here, there's some space where you probably could add maybe some, Republic insignias or something like that. So definitely feel free to add those as your heart desires. Now you'll notice that the sculpt that we got from Bounty Supply Co. also comes with the chest box as well as those two little hoses that attach up to the helmet that have been printed in flex resin. So there's a little bit of give to those. Now, Hawk already comes with his own chest box that is, it's glued and fastened in there pretty good. And so to remove that and add the Phase 1 box that comes with this set, I just took a hobby razor and very carefully sliced off the old Clone Hawk box as well as those little hoses. Please make sure that you're being very careful when using those. Those are very sharp. It's easy to cut yourself. I've done it plenty of times, and I don't want the same to happen to you. So take that nice and easy if you're looking to do a full replacement there and get these new hoses in. From there, to fasten things up, I just used a little bit of glue to glue that new box in place. You can see actually that the hoses I've got here are not yet attached, so you can glue those in as you would like. And then the head here, and I keep promising this, but I am going to do it. There's going to be a video out where I deal how to glue on these action figure heads using Vaseline as well as a little bit of hot glue. And by following that method, which I've explained in our previous Dark Times Officer video, you can affix a head sculpt so it stays in place, but that you still have that articulation and rotation. So I will have a live example of that in one of our upcoming videos here. Once you've got that all in place, feel free to add some additional weathering to this guy as you'd like. He might be a shiny pilot and not really see the battlefield, so you can call it A-OK there. But for this one, this specific example that you're seeing, I kind of followed some of the strategy that I laid out in the Battlefront 2 Jet Trooper custom showcase that I did. Please feel free to check out that video for some more tips on some of the paint splotching on his shoulders. You can also check out some of my past videos for a little bit more detail on using Tamiya weathering kits. That's how I kind of achieved that sandy look. So there's some dry weathering that I've added here too, but really this is up to your discretion at this point, how much you'd like to put on, if you want to add some of these paint chips and scuffs like I've done on my own Hawk here, or if you just want to leave them shiny. So anyways, let me know what your thoughts are of this project. If this is one that you'd like to tackle, if you've got any modifications or recommendations for making your own clone custom pilots. These guys are always a lot of fun. They got that 1970s Vietnam chopper pilot kind of aesthetic to them. So yeah, let me know how you're going about these. Would love to hear your thoughts or suggestions in the comments below. And finally, if you feel so inclined and interested, I do have this project as well as many others available for sale on my eBay page. I've got a link to that in the video's description, but would definitely appreciate your support there with some of the other projects that I've put together. For nearly all of these custom showcase videos that I'm releasing, I'm usually making 2 to 3 or even 4 of the same figure at the same time. So always refreshing the store with new stuff there, so make sure to check that out on the regular.